It is June 4th, 2025. This is a policy or a committee meeting with budget and compensation. We have a couple items on the agenda that we'll be looking at and discussing, or at least getting before the committee. Mrs. Jones will not be here today for health reasons she's having with her husband right now. So the committee is made up of Miss Beth, Miss Holly, and Mr. Hansard. Mr. Ballard is also present. Mr. Cosgrove,
Hargrove.
Did H or R? Cosgrove? No, not.
You're in the baseball. That's the
Scott is here anyway, and April is with us, and Mr. Shores is in here, and Mr. Danewood. Okay. First thing I think we have on the agenda, there was back about, last board meeting, the board approved a job description for a head mechanic at the school bus garage. And I think that's part of the concern today is the compensation that the board is considering for the head mechanic, which is Mr. Holland, I believe. And so I guess we're right now open for discussion or whatever you might want to come up with. We've gotten some figures from April and Amanda from bookkeeping and park department and what have you. And Mr. Hargrove will have some information to share with you. So I guess we're just open for discussion. If y'all want to start or let Mr. Scott start, whichever.
Go ahead, Scott. Or Mr. Hargrove.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. During the May board meeting, Mr. Morris spoke, and there was discussion on at that meeting with some experience that one of the board members could write and vouch for. That kind of gets us to where we're at now. Mr. Morris also spoke about some additional pay for being the lead mechanic, and where he started, the gentleman in question started is at 16 years. With those recommendations, that puts him at 21 years. You're looking at a 4% increase in pay that is across the board for employees, as well as the $500 a month supplement for being a head mechanic. That was all recommended during the meeting, which Mr. Morris, after a couple of conversations with him, he feels like the gentleman is good with the amount, but it took him from $49,385 to $60,977. And if you need those numbers repeated.
What was that? Sorry.
$49,385 to $60,977.
Okay.
45, you said 45?
49.
I got the last one that April gave me was 190.
There was a corrected.
Yes, that was corrected, Mr. Hansard. There was a correction from the bookkeeping. Somewhere during the year, there was a correction found, and his salary was at $49,385 for the 24-25 school year. So yes, that was an initial that she gave you, but that was found to be needed to be corrected some point in time during payroll.
But there wasn't an error in paying him, right?
So there was initially, when we roll our payroll system, we have people that sometimes they roll back to the same year that they were already on, and we try to spot check several people in different areas of our budget. We did catch it. I think I'd already sent you guys out the information, the pay information. But we did catch it. I think it was in October, and we've already paid him, so we took care of that. And we notified him that we had the issue, and then we asked Hal if he wanted us to just respread it or lump sum, and so we made it right for him. And so in the initial file, I think that you guys have, it does say the 45, but I think I corrected that and gave that to Dr. Powell and passed that along.
Yes.
So not to venture off subject, but how do we know that hadn't happened to others?
Well, we when I go through every month when I go through the budget, I do review of every pay line in the budget, and things like that fall out. And so
Okay.
we do spot check as much as we can, but we have, sometimes 800 employees that in a month. So we have contacted our payroll company, and they're aware of the issue. It's just an old program that
Software.
that is we've told them there's a glitch in it. They know, they're aware of it, but this is not like the first time it's ever happened. We usually have those almost every year.
Just curious, what is the software?
It's called Siesta.
Okay.
As I recall, at the last board meeting, we discussed this, there was presented the fact that he had years of experience that we were going to recognize.
Mhm.
Has that been done?
Yes, ma'am. He had 16 years, and Mr. Gilly wrote a letter in support of the other years
So
of
that's
experience.
the 16.
So we're
that's the
adding,
total.
yes.
Okay, good.
Well, it's actually
Yep.
the next year, and it ends up, the math's right, 21.
So he'll get a year for this year. So when we roll him, he'll go to 17, and then we had the letter takes care of the other years.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, the letter that Mr. Morris sent out said 23 years. With a, $6,000 additional to his salary of $6,000 annually. This would only be an extra $500 per month. That's where the 500 comes in at a cost, which would save us, obviously, is what he's saying. So with my calculations, and I'm just figuring up to 45 with, I guess, why are we not giving him 23, what Tim asked for?
I don't know where Tim got his figures from, Mr. Hansard, but we talked with Tim on the second time, a couple of different times I talked with him. He's talked with Mr. Harlow, and I don't know where Tim got his years to start with. I think it probably when he said he worked for this company for so long and this company for so long.
I've got 2 letters here that's from Mr. Harlow that documents the 23 years that he's got.
Well, the only thing I know is that Mr. Morris talked with Mr. Harlow and told him what we had come up with, and he was very satisfied with that 21 years' experience. So I don't know, I haven't seen any letters from Mr. Harlow. I don't know where they came from or who got them, but I haven't seen any of them, and apparently Mr. Morris hadn't because he didn't say anything to us about any other
Well,
salary
They
increase.
went to pull him from his file, Dr. Powell, and they weren't in there, so he reprinted them off.
Or who printed them off? I mean,
Uh,
where did they come from?
He.
I'm not arguing
Mr.
with you, I
Harlow,
just-
No, Mr. Harlow got them. He went back and got the people to write another letter.
Well, we haven't seen those,
Okay, here you go.
and Mr. Morris apparently hadn't seen them.
I haven't, all we have, and I haven't looked at his file, it could be something we already have in his file, and we went through all of that, but I wasn't aware of the letters either, so I haven't checked his file to see if they're in there.
I'm just going on what Mr. Morris, he had already said that he had documented it. At 23 years of experience in auto and diesel mechanics. However, like y'all were saying, that he is only being paid for 16 years. This discrepancy is due to the fact that some of the former employees have either gone out of business or are deceased. So, with that being said, that he ought to be up around 65.
Mr. Chairman, just quickly, I know whenever we do whenever somebody turns in for experience, I know that Mr. Hargrove would not be aware of this yet. Dr. Powell has done a few of them. There are certain criteria that actually has to be provided to give an employee those years' experience. It can't be just a letter from somebody saying they have worked in this many years. There needs to be more data to that, more true information, because if you're not careful, everybody can, or many people can actually get somebody, their neighbor, to write a letter just saying, they have worked doing this for this many years. So there's a little bit more to it than somebody just writing a letter and saying they have done this. You've got the things that we normally look for, and the director is usually the one that actually does the signing off on it. I do read those, but they're the ones that signs off on it. It's a letterhead. It's actual dates. It could be records from where taxes was turned in, showing the actual amount of time that they have worked, how many hours. Because somebody can say, I've worked at this for this whole year, but it was only 2 days each week. Well, that's not counted as a full-time job, so you can't go that direction. And the director's goals usually is to give them as much as we possibly can. But for our auditors, we have to be able to prove and show that we have the true knowledge that they provided, that they did that. And so that's kind of the direction we usually do, but I just want to make that mention of how we normally go about trying to give the experience as it's turned into us. Okay?
So
Thank
I
you.
have a question on that because this was brought to me, not by this gentleman, but another employee, a couple months ago, and I spoke with Dr. Powell about it because I did not know anything about it, but it was a custodian. Remember us talking about that? And they were trying to get hours for cleaning a restaurant and then cleaning people's houses. And I didn't know, and I didn't know if there was how that was decided. I think there was an issue maybe with letterhead or whatever that her letters were written on, but is there a policy or a procedure that we can fall back on and say, this is what we go by? I didn't know what to tell her.
This was actually a procedure that went through the compensation committee, Ms. Melson, 2 years ago, I guess?
I believe so, yes.
That was this whole setup. Well, I've always believed, as in my position and before I came up here, that teachers and certified employees receive their year's experience when they moved from one school system to another school system to another school system. It traveled with them, the entire amount. And whenever I came here, or up here, I started realizing the classified, it wasn't working that way. The most that anybody would get was 5 years. And I didn't agree with that.
Yeah.
If you have that many years experience, I felt like we should treat our classified the same as we did our certified with experience. And so that's the reason why it was brought up.
Okay.
But the difficult thing is it was put on the employee to be able to prove it. They have to be able to prove it. And if they can't prove it, then you otherwise we're just giving everybody the same experience. But if you could prove that you worked full time for the full year, then you would get the full year with that position. But it's just the procedures that has been taking place, and usually the director is the one. Well, the director is the one that signs off on it.
Well, I'm just asking because,
Good question.
yeah, because I can see this coming up a lot more. And if we have, I don't know if we have a policy on it or if we have a procedure or whatever on it, but it would be great to be able to fall back on something to cover us, if nothing else, to say this is what is required.
And I agree. I don't
I
think
don't
it would be
know.
a policy. It would be more
Yeah.
of a procedure
Okay.
to be able to
Yeah.
show the proof that you have
Right.
the year's
And
experience
it
that you
takes
have.
these certain things.
These type things, and
Yeah.
and like I said, it's legal documents. It's
Yeah.
it's actually being able to show legally that you or that employee
Yeah. Was on the payroll.
can prove that they were on the payroll for a full-time position for that entire time.
Right.
Yes.
Or even if it was like someone that had their own business, they could provide us their documents.
Yeah.
Saying this is the years I had my business.
Right.
And we were able to use those as well as
Okay.
experience, so. We didn't just narrow it down to like letters, and we tried to be as
Yeah.
open-minded
Yeah.
as we could on some of these
And-
situations.
Really, I guess, try to be consistent, you know, so that there's no question. Okay.
Mr. Hargrove, is this gonna be a supervision position?
No, sir, not necessarily. He will just be head mechanic. Mr. Morris is still supervisor over the school bus garage, so it will not be a supervisor position per se. And there was
And how
no
many years
requ-
has he been with us?
16, I
Well,
believe.
that's
is
what we're paying him on. I'd have to look and see, let me look and see if I find his hire date.
I believe he did bring some experience with him and did receive
he-
experience before, but I don't have that information directly in front of me either.
I guess my thing that we need to watch out to for this young man is, you can go 2 miles down the road here, make $37.50 an hour. Thompson Machinery. If we lose this gentleman and we take this bus to a bus garage, it's $217 an hour.
Mr. Handred, all I know is that I have spoken with Mr. Morris on 2 occasions within the last 4 or 5 days. He has talked with Mr. Harlow. Mr. Harlow has indicated that he is perfectly fine with the experience, the 21 years experience we're giving him, plus the $500 per month, which would be $6,000 pay raise. That would be in there every year, plus the 4% that they've already gotten. He said he would be fine with that. Now, I haven't talked to Mr. Harlow.
I have.
Well, I'm sorry. I haven't, and we haven't seen this.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from. I mean, I know
I
Dr.
understand.
Qualls.
I
I know
understand
Dr.
that.
Qualls, and I understand her information. This would give him, according to this, he could have worked for them for 8 total years.
Yes, sir.
The one that the other gentleman wrote had no dates of any kind on it whatsoever.
Yes, sir.
But all I know is what Mr. Morris is related to Mr. Hargrove and myself, plus the email that he's given us. So
Yes, sir.
that's all I can tell you.
Okay.
He started with Coffee County Schools in 2019. Came in February, so.
I'm just saying that when I talked to, that he wanted to be, between, in the 60s. So
Well, he is in the 60s.
he's at 60. So
Yes,
if, I'm just saying to get him comparable, to keep him here, I guess, is what I'm trying to give the board, is to make us competitive to other, places that he could go for
I
work.
understand that. But all I'm saying is, this is what he has told his immediate supervisor that he would be satisfied with. So that's all I can tell
Did he
you.
tell you that?
Would y'all mind if I stepped outside and called him?
No, sir, not really.
Is this 60,977, is that, after the 4%?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And that puts him above the other mechanics in the shop.
It'll be about, I think we looked at about 4,500 more than
Yes, something like that.
the
Yes.
next one
The
underneath.
next one down would be what? He's at 52? Is that correct?
Well, with the raise, he'd be around, I think, around $4,500 more than the one below him.
He at 54? 54 or 55.9?
I think we looked, I don't have the exact number, but I think we looked at, it was around $4,500. Can look.
Okay, based on the 25, 26, 24, 25 school year salary, the highest person, now this is not counting the 4% that come in this year, 52,859 was the highest salary for the mechanics prior to this taking place. And that was because of experience factor, I think. But
50,
52,
you
8,
said,
and that's not counting the 4% that they would be getting this year.
so that would put him at 54,974, is
I
that correct?
guess, I haven't figured that, Mr. Hansard.
How does this, I haven't had a chance to look, but how does this compare to districts around us? Do we know? I haven't had a chance to look.
I'm not
Have you?
sure they
Okay.
have there are designated,
Head mechanics.
yes.
Yeah.
A lot of our around here have gone to Durham.
Oh, for buses.
They-
yeah.
they pay
It's
somebody
really
else.
hard to compare
Yes.
bus pay to anybody else, because I've tried and everybody's doing something different.
Warren County's gone to Durham. They got away from it for this very reason. They couldn't find,
I don't think that Coffee County Schools wants to go into the private bus business, but that's not my decision to make.
Well, I would say if the gentleman is satisfied with the 6977, that we should forward.
That's
That's what his supervisor has informed us.
And if it's coming out of his
budget.
budget.
Yes, ma'am.
So if, he has some input into what that would be as well. So I say, let's forward it.
If it were me and I wasn't satisfied with it, I'd speak up and say something.
No, that's what I'm saying, and I'm not, Dr. Powell, I'm not trying to, I'm just telling you, I just talked to him a couple of days ago, and he was looking at, he was thinking right at 65, is what he told me.
Well, this conversation I had with Mr. Morris was probably last Thursday or Friday afternoon.
Yes, sir. That's what
After I talked with him, I think either you or Miss Holly had given some information to Melissa, and she brought it in to me. I called Tim up here to see if he knew anything about it. He had no idea what that was all about. He had not heard anything from him. He went back that afternoon and talked with him. They talked again. Tim came back up the next day, told me what he was going to be, what he felt like he would be comfortable with. He sent us an email, and I don't know whether you got a copy of that or not, but we have it on file where Mr. Harlow indicated that the money that Mr. Hargrove is recommended, the 21 years experience plus the 4% plus the $500 per month would be satisfactory with him. Now, I don't know what kind of conversation y'all had, but if he's got those conversations, he needs to bring it to the director of schools
We've acted on just the information we've been provided.
Yes, sir. I've got a,
from Mr. Harlow and his supervisor.
is that going to be?
I'm not doubting what you're saying. I'm just saying.
I've got him. He never, I've got him right here if you'd like to look at the text. He never made comment on that either. Is that 60,000 plus overtime?
No, sir. That's his base salary. I don't know how much overtime he would be getting in a year's time.
It varies on how much time they ride the bus, if they have to drive a bus.
Right.
And then come back to the garage and work on the bus.
Yes.
It varies on the bus driver situation.
Varies where they has to drive or where they doesn't have to drive. And I don't think he drives unless it's absolutely necessary from what Mr. Morris tells me.
Okay. I'll just say that y'all might want to talk to this man, and let's, I'll make a motion that we, put this off till tomorrow or something, and Mr. Hargrove can talk to Gary or Mr. Harlow and, get this straight, because I'm talking to the man right here, and he's never said that. I'm sorry. But I'm, right here's a text, I'll let you read it.
To my knowledge, he's made no attempt to talk to Mr. Hargrove. Now, he did indicate, he called me
Yes, sir.
a couple of, probably first part of last week. I was out. We did not get a chance to come together to talk, but I have not had any conversation with him per
Yes, sir.
se. All my conversations went through Mr. Morris, his supervisor.
Yes, sir. I understand. I did. He reached out to me, and,
Well, he needs to be reaching out to Mr. Hargrove or Tim one.
This email, I pulled it back up that Mr. Morris sent on May the 1st.
here it is.
Yeah. It says, I don't know if you have it.
We've got that.
Okay, all
Yes.
right. He has approximately 23 years of experience.
And I think that was based
But-
on what Mr. Harlow had told him, based
Okay.
on what he thought he had worked for certain individuals for that period of time, which he couldn't verify.
So we're
At
giving
that
him
time.
how many years?
We're giving him
21.
21.
21 now,
Okay.
from 16?
He'll roll
Or
to
14.
17, and then we'll give him an additional 4 years.
Yeah, okay.
So
Right.
what would it have been, how much is the difference between the 21 years experience and the 23 years experience? I'm just curious to see how much difference that would be.
Give me a minute to work my numbers.
Okay, it's fine.
Ms. Matthews, if you remember, he's only been with us in our system, did you say 2018?
She said 19, I think.
2019? So he is receiving many years' experience that he was able to prove through his documentation in previous times. So he's actually getting a whole lot of experience. So it's down to, it sounds like 4 to 6 years that he's struggling on providing the documentation.
Maybe not even
for it.
that. They
It's either
said that
4 or
they're
6.
giving him 21, but
Right.
they've asked for 23.
But it sounds like Mr. Gilly wrote the letter,
Oh,
and it was approved by Dr. Powell, I believe, for the 4 years. But the 2 other years is, and this is all I'm understanding what I'm hearing on it. The 2 years still has not been enough information, documentation to show and prove that he worked those years.
okay.
That's so it's really down to 2 years.
So 2 more years would be around $1,418 a year, total. So that would put him at 62,396 for 2 more years.
Okay.
And how many years' experience would that be, Ms. April?
They were saying 23,
Yeah.
which means,
What-
I don't know if that means 23 or 24, because we're rolling him a year, so
Right.
we would have to look at that and see.
I mean,
But
I
we
think
don't
he
have-
would-
If we had to.
I think he would be good with 21 and rolling it to 22. That would put him at 43, 47 a month, 56, 513 a year, with the $6,000 annual raise that he's talking about, that Mr. Morris is talking about in his letter, plus the 4% would put him at 65. That's just going by what Mr. Morris has in his letter. And he's fine with that. Here it is,
Are you talking to Mr. Morris or Mr. Harlow?
Mr. Harlow.
Evidently, he hasn't relayed this information to Mr. Morris.
It is Mr. Morris's budget.
Mr. Morris he's at a transportation meeting, I think. Ms. Beth out of town. He's not here.
I would love to sit down with Mr. Morris, have a conversation, and Mr. Harlow.
I think that would be a good idea.
No, that's a great idea, and
Yes, sir.
we need to do it. We need to be careful, though. We need to watch how we conduct our business now, because
Yes, sir.
feels a little bit like a free agency in baseball. We're opening Pandora's box. We want to be fair to our employees.
Yes, sir.
We want to treat our employees right, take good care of them. But I think we need to watch the precedent that we set.
Yes, sir.
And what we have done in the past, I know this board can definitely change it, but I want to throw just a small piece. We normally base pay not on the person, but on the position. Now, if that's something that the board is wanting to change, that opens up a new error in things. But normally what the board has, or what has been done in Coffee County schools in the past, and normally I want to say most school systems base it off of the position, because the person might not be there next year, and whoever comes in, it's going to be based on the position rather than the person.
That's
And
a very
that's
good
what has happened in the
point.
past.
That's a very good point, Mr. Shores. It's, and that's what I'm trying to say. If he was to leave here, no matter how much experience he has and goes 2 miles down the road, he can make $37.50 an hour. It doesn't matter whether he's been there 25 years or
Right.
not. And to pay for, he is a essential part of our school system. Would you agree to that, Dr. Shores?
It's Mr. Shores, by the way, but he could make it down there. I don't know. I'm just saying, normally as a school system, we do it through experience and step raises through each year. And that's how school systems have, as far as I know, always pretty much have done it. It's never looking at the actual individual. So yes, he could go somewhere else. Mr. Harlow is a great man, great mechanic, but he could leave tomorrow, and whoever we hire in would take that same, whatever you provide through the compensation committee to the board and it's approved, they would get the same, even if that person doesn't have the knowledge that Mr. Harlow has, they would receive the exact same setup that Mr. Harlow would be receiving. Yeah,
When would
so
this, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, were
that's-
you done? Okay.
that's all.
When will this new pay go into effect?
Because we've already, like, we're closing the year, we talked about July 1st would be when we would start his new, because we'll roll the years, we'll add the experience and.
And that is,
Okay.
but to do that, we would have to vote on that in the June meeting next week, correct?
June or July, because we
Would
won't run
July-
our first payroll till August.
Okay.
For the school year.
So we could potentially vote on it in July if you wanted to talk with them.
Sure, that
and
would give
we
us
need
a-
a little more time.
Yes, ma'am, that would give us an amount of time to,
Okay.
And Miss April, you could do it even in August and back pay if
Back
you,
Yeah.
if it was retroactive type setup.
Okay.
And then if we had to look at, maybe taking it out of our fund balance, we've got obviously quite a bit of money in our fund balance, so.
I could just chime in from the cheat sheets back here, is that the only thing we would, sorry. The only thing we would be voting on would be the $500 a month supplement, right? So not his years of experience. So he'd have to try to document another 2 years somehow, wherever he can get that. But we would be, as a board, we'd be voting on the $500 supplement for that that would go with that position. So that's kind of how I understand it. And my understanding was that Mr. Morris said he talked with you and can work it out in the budget, that it really isn't going to add any extra cost to him. Is that correct?
Well, it'll still be a budget amendment, so I'll have to find it somewhere within our budget. And so like early in the year, that's incredibly hard to do because, we're starting the year. So I could take it from like his diesel line or whatever, but it typically is still a budget amendment because it's salary. So anything salary that changes has to be through a budget amendment.
Okay. I thought Mr. Morris had said he'd had it
It's-
worked out.
It's not currently in the budget that I presented to you guys.
Okay.
Because I only budget what I know, for the
Right,
school year.
right.
And then overtime, now his overtime could cover it, but I don't budget that much overtime.
I
And
thought he
so
said in his email that he could make some line item moves that wouldn't require a budget amendment.
We could, but we would have to
Bottom
make a budget
paragraph,
amendment to do
paragraph.
it.
Okay.
And then potentially another budget amendment later in the year to cover the line that I took it from, so.
I don't want to speak for Mr. Morris, Mr. Ballard, or the committee, either one, but I think Mr. Morris's intention or insinuation was that if Mr. Harlow received the $500 a month, $6,000 increase, that over the time, the system would save money because of his expertise and because of the contacts he has with vendors and mechanics and so forth and shops and what have you, parts and what have you, that money could be saved somewhere else in the transportation budget. Not necessarily, you couldn't say we're going to pull this out, but I think that's what the insinuation was, that Mr. Harlow could save the system and the overall budget. That amount of money is I think is what he was insinuating. It's my understanding, yeah. But the salary per se was not in the budget as such. So that's where the amendment would have to come from, in the salary line, not necessarily the transportation budget per se.
So then we'd have to vote to do the $500 supplement
Right.
plus a budget amendment then to make it
Yeah, so
happen.
I would probably bring that in probably the same meeting
Yeah.
that you guys vote
Okay,
on.
got it. Yeah, I'm
Well,
just,
as long as it's next school year, because I wouldn't do the budget amendment for this school year, for next school year yet. So
Right.
if you voted on it in June, I would bring it to you in July.
okay. I was just making it clear to the committee what actions we'd have to take as the board to clean that up. Okay. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll make a motion to for us to move on, from this and, bring it up and let Mr. Hargrove, take it and talk to, Mr. Harlow and, Mr. Morris and, bring it up at a later time.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on transportation? All right, another thing that I want you to take a look at, Mr. Parsley had sent us, and he just came into the room, some information dealing with coaching supplements, and not only necessarily coaching supplements, but also,
We don't vote in this.
You don't vote in committees.
well, I think there needs to be a motion. I mean, there needs to be a motion come out of the committee, yes. So I think you made the motion, Mr. Tanzert? Okay.
I'll
Yes, sir.
Second.
Yeah.
Ms. Matthews, second the motion. All right, the motion is to postpone this and let Mr. Hargrove, Mr. Morris, and Mr. Harlow get together, or Holland get together, and see where we are with this situation. Everybody clear on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. The coaching supplements, we're not going to get into discussion about all the coaching supplements and so forth. Mr. Parsley has asked that we take a look at some of the coaching supplements, not necessarily all of them, but I think Miss April has a handout for you that shows all of our this year, not next year now. This is not next year's information. This is what happened this school year about our the coaching supplements, who they were, what they got at the middle school and also at the high school. So this is just for information purposes right now.
I don't have one of those.
Thank you.
So you can get an idea of how the coaching supplements are set up and that type thing. Let's look at the high school first. That should be the sheet that doesn't have the blue lines on it. I'll try to explain it fairly quickly to you. The athletic directors, you've got two. There's a total of 16% supplement. They split that with an 8 and 8 supplement as is right now. The baseball supplement, that is set up where the head coach gets to 16% at this point in time, and depending on how many coaches they want, you got one short. Depending on how many coaches they want, and it may this particular year, you had 4 assistant coaches. One of them was field maintenance. We don't know at this point in time whether the baseball coach has all the coaches for next year or not. But whatever's left over, that money is divided among the coaches, and Mr. Parsley, the athletic directors, and the coach get together and decide what the supplements they'll give to the assistant coaches. Is that correct, Mr. Parsley?
That's generally correct.
This percent, like it says at the bottom, 16% on the high school director, total high school athletic director supplements. Now, where does the percent come from? It's a percent of something.
Right, okay.
I can
I'll let Miss
explain.
April answer that.
So these percentages were set back years ago by the board. So a specific percentage is given to each sport. And then those percentages are taken to the pay scale. So like, it depends on what the person's on. So like if they're on masters in 22, they get 16% of that
Okay.
line, and that's what their supplement is. If it's a non-faculty coach, they get paid off the bachelor 0 line. So that would be a percentage of that line. So that's kind of how so the percentages in total never change, but the people may, and so the dollars will fluctuate based on who's in that position and what years of experience they have.
That makes sense.
And you can go down the list and see where they are there. You've got your baseball, we looked at that. Boys basketball, they have a head coach, and this past year, Mr. Andrew had 3 assistant coaches. He may have 3 this next year. He may not have but 2. We don't know. That hasn't been determined yet. I don't think. They haven't got all that taken care of. Same thing with all the rest of them. So this is just going to give you an idea of how the money is spread out with the coaching staff. And it depends on how many assistant coaches that particular sport or that head coach wants in their program. So basically, that's kind of the basis for it. So these numbers are what took place this past school year, and doesn't include any percent raises or anything whatsoever. I guess the largest one out of this, of course, is the football, which is on the second page, and you'll see that there are several assistant coaches in there. Again, at this point in time, we don't know how many assistant coaches will be on the football staff. So that's to be determined at some point in time with Mr. Parson, the ADs, and the head coach, and so forth. You'll see also in there's a stipend for a field maintenance person. That person basically is in charge of striping the fields, making sure they're ready to play on, that type thing. And I think he also mows the field themselves. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes. So there's a stipend for that particular individual in there, and you'll see Mr. Ham's name in there on a couple of different sports, football, baseball, softball, I think, because of field maintenance and that type thing. And then, of course, you got girls basketball the same way. Coach Cope had 3 assistants this past year that were being paid. That may be what he has this next year. We don't know. We'll have to look and see. Now, also, we'll say this. Sometimes the booster club will pay a volunteer coach, a non-faculty coach. They'll pay it out of booster funds. So that wouldn't necessarily be in here. That money's paid to the school system, and we pay them. The booster club cannot pay them per se, as I understand it. Is that correct, Mr. Parsley?
That is correct. So, the booster organizations can provide money for an assistant coach. However, that must run through the school system.
Yes.
And so, in particular, the way that it works at Coffee County High School, a booster member would bring that money in to the school, to Miss Amy Barnard, our bookkeeper, and then it would run to the district office. The person would be paid out through a check or checks from the school district.
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question on that.
Yes,
It looks like this has been updated because back at the beginning of the year, under girls basketball, Crosland was not listed. And so now it's been added.
Okay,
And you're
I'm
talking
sorry,
about
Holly. Run back again. I
Okay,
missed
under
something
girls
somewhere.
basketball, at the beginning of the year, Crosland was not listed, but it is now. So it looks like this has been updated since then. And there's a 5% pay, but was that Booster Club money or is this?
So they switched who they wanted. So originally it was Nia Gannon that was in that spot.
Oh,
And from what I understand, she was going to choose not to coach. So they filled that spot with Miss Crosland. And then Miss Gannon came back and wanted to help again. And so Booster chose to pay her. So we switched those 2 spots.
so Gannon gets the Booster Club money.
But Gannon will get the Booster Club money this year.
Okay.
And she has resigned.
As of this year? Or
Yes.
just-
She
Okay,
has,
I
she
didn't
has
know
now
that.
Yeah,
resigned.
Miss Gannon will
not
not be
know that.
coaching
Okay.
next year. Yes.
That is correct.
Now, whether Mr. Cope is going to get another assistant coach, we don't know that. That's something that they'll have to decide upon.
Okay.
But as far as I know right now, the 3 coaches that you see there, and like I said, this was last year's, Mr. Benson, Mr. Chumley, and Miss Crosland are the assistant coaches at this point in time are being paid. And again, that could change.
This is the current staff. And-
Yes.
and, particularly during the summertime, these kind of changes tend to take place. Sometimes they happen in the spring for fall sports. Coaches for fall and winter sports are talking in the off-season with people that might be interested in helping them. And so that's kind of what's going on here. But I mean, just to be quite honest, these changes occur throughout the year because you've got sports going throughout the year. For a spring sport, it's common to have a change during the fall or even during the winter, and for fall sports, even during this time of year. Anywhere you see a percentage, that is paid out by the school district.
So there's no one on here that's paid out by Booster.
Okay.
So this is just school district funds.
So will girls' basketball, I mean, do we know or if they're gonna add another person to pay under booster? Or if they do add somebody, will it be on here?
We'll
or-
get we'll get a list. Usually, Paul, ADs provide that list to us, usually after summer, so we can start working these into payroll. It just will be determined on what's on that list and
Yeah.
what's determined by the head basketball coach.
And
And
I
the booster
guess
club.
if I could say, anyone that we're interested in hiring, anyone that a head coach talks with us about, that they would like to serve, for instance, as a non-faculty volunteer or something like that. I mean, they're going to be interviewed, they're going to be vetted, background checked and whatnot.
Okay. Have all the football coaches been background checked?
Yeah, I can attest that anyone on this list has been background checked.
Okay.
That they wouldn't be receiving pay from the district, or even being paid by boosters if they had
Okay.
not been background
Okay.
checked.
Okay. Keep in mind though, Ms. Holly, that this is this past season's coaches.
Yeah, yeah.
So we
Oh,
don't
I know.
I don't
Yeah.
know what this next year's gonna look like. Since
Yeah.
we've got a new head coach, he may
Yeah.
have this many and he may not want this many.
Right.
I don't know, but
And he probably, if I understood it correctly, they kind of get to decide themselves, the head coach, right? How they divide it out and how many they want on staff or to a
So-
degree.
So it is to a degree.
Yeah.
So, different coaches have different mentalities as far as the role that they have themselves. Of course, they're the leader of the team, but, some head coaches in football will also want to be a coordinator of offense or defense. Some don't want to do that. That changes some things. If the head coach is going to be a coordinator, then there's not going to be at least one of those coordinator positions to pay a larger supplement to. That leaves more money left over to go maybe to some other coaches and allows you to maybe hire another coach or two. Just to further clarify what Dr. Powell said, once it sort of settles as far as to how many people a coach is going to have working in a program, the coach works with the ADs, and I'm typically a part of that conversation as well. But they'll talk with us about the percentage that they would like to give each coach based upon the duties that they want to assign them. Obviously more responsibilities equals more pay is generally how that works.
you'll also notice on the back page, even though they're not ball coaches as such, you also have band supplements for a band. You have cheerleader supplements, you have color guard supplements, you have dance supplements, and cross country, of course, which is a sport as such, and tennis and what have you. But we're not only looking at just the athletic coaches as we normally would call them, but now they consider girls cheerleading and dance and so forth as part of the athletic program. So when you look at this, don't just think about it being something that involves a ball, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah,
is
I
what
mean,
we
I agree
traditionally
with
would
that.
call
I'm a cheer
athletics
mom,
Because
so.
we're not.
Don't
Yeah.
forget our girls.
But, look through that and see, I know that there's some, for instance, cheerleading, which I know Ms. Holly is very much aware of. This past year, I think there were 4 cheerleading coaches, as I understand it.
That is
One of those has since resigned. Whether there's going to be another one to come on board, we don't know that at this point in time. But that's something that Mr. Parsley will have to look at and come back and recommend to the board that they pay 3 or pay 4 or pay 2, whatever the case may be, and what have you. So, like I said, these were what we had this year, and it's probably, I'd say 70-75%, pretty much what you'd have next year, but that's to be seen, I guess. And the same thing with them. You got the same thing with middle school, same situations with them. They don't have as many, of course, to deal with as far as number of coaches are concerned, but they have the same programs for the most part, and what have you. But what we're trying to do today is just make you aware that this is something that the board needs to begin to look at a little bit and see where some of these need to be, if they're more than what you think they ought to be, or they need to pick up more. Mr. Parsley will have recommendations to the board at some point in time, or to Mr. Hargrove, and that will come before you. But I just wanted to put on your radar that because we're changing personnel and so forth, there may be a difference in what you'd be giving your coaching supplements, I guess, basically. I mean, you may not have, what was it, 10 or 12 coaches in football? I don't remember. I didn't count how many was on there. It
11
was
or
a whole
12,
lot.
I think. Last time I looked.
Of course, you have to consider too, whether you have a varsity team, you have a JV team, you have a ninth grade team. Those things are all to be considered as part of the high school program. Same thing with all the sports, even cheerleading and band, so forth and so on. Middle school is not. I don't think they have that much of a breakdown in their athletic programs as far as. I don't think they have a JV football team. I'm not sure, but I don't believe they do. It's just they play as a varsity. Is that right, Mr. Shores?
I couldn't hear what you just said.
The middle school have a JV football team and a JV basketball, or they just kind
I
of?
believe so, yes.
Okay, they may have that, but anyway, that's how some of those supplements are broken down, like Mr. Parker said, depending on the responsibility that particular coach may have in their program.
So, I guess I'm just asking, like, while we're looking at it, are there any changes or?
Well, I think there's going to be changes, yes, because Mr. Parsley has asked the board to consider some changes for next year.
Okay, under which program?
Well, probably, if you want to go ahead, Mr. Parsley, whatever you.
I don't mind at all. You know, we could discuss each one of these programs at length and variables such as, is there a JV team? Is there a freshman team? How many kids are in the program? There are all sorts of different directions that a conversation about this could go. But one thing, let me say it this way, I guess the first thing that I would appreciate could be addressed would be that in my mind, there are about 3 programs here that are not the high-profile programs, whereas the head coach receives a supplement that I just feel is not enough, just flat not enough. And I'll give those examples. Our dance coach, our head dance coach, receives a 6.25% supplement. That program runs virtually all year. I mean, it really does. And you know, we have a non-faculty assistant that works with her, does not receive any money from the school district. The pay she gets is all fundraised by the boosters. But I would advocate that our head dance coach, and perhaps there even be an assistant dance supplement, again, they're running virtually all year.
I would support that 100%.
She sent us an email.
Yes.
I talked to her at
I am
the
aware of that
basketball
email.
game
Yes,
too.
yes.
I hope you all noticed. She did. I thought she did a really good job.
She did an excellent job.
It was very well written, and I support that 110%.
That is.
She needs some help.
That is an example of what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yes.
Aside from those, my recollection, our cross-country coach as well as our tennis coach receive 6.25% supplements. And, you know, cross-country is a fall sport, tennis is a spring sport. You know, there's lots of responsibility running a program, whether it be spring, fall, winter, whatever, you know, what have you, any of those. And some of these programs, in fact, I believe all these programs, I'd have to double check the cross country. I think tennis as well has an assistant that is a volunteer, a non-faculty volunteer. And there's no pay from the district on that either. So I would, you know, again, there are lots of different things we could suggest, or I could suggest, but I think a good place to start would be in potentially increasing the supplement for these head coaches in these 3 areas. All of the other areas, you know, we could, you know, discuss whether it's enough or not, but if tennis, dance, and cross-country could be increased to at least equal the amount of the, I guess, the next highest sports, 8% you see in some other sports, you see that. And so I would suggest at least 8% across the board on those sports because of the responsibility that goes along with being in charge of those.
That's not an increase of 8%, that's bringing it
No.
up to 8%.
Right.
And, you know, it obviously would be up to you all whether you wanted to do a paid assistant coach supplement or not. I mean, in cases where we don't, generally, the parents, the boosters raise money to help, to pay for someone to help.
You got to keep in mind that money that they're raising for, you know, through fundraising and for booster, it doesn't take but maybe 1 or 2 competitions to eat that up.
That's right.
I really don't know how they're able to even pay anybody with it, a substantial amount.
Right.
So,
I-
and I hate to
generally they're
see
not,
kids
yeah.
fundraising and parents, it falls on the parents really to do a lot of the fundraising. And the parents and the kids not get most of the benefit because we as a district are not paying an assistant coach. I don't feel like the parents and the kids should have to carry that load to fundraise for an assistant coach. I feel like we should. We've got an assistant coach everywhere else through here.
Well, to me, when we pay, how many football coaches? And then we can't even get our girls with dance an assistant coach.
Yes.
Something's unbalanced in that to me. I mean, I've always had people say, well, football pays for itself. I'd love to know how, if you could share that with me. How does football pay for itself? But I know that it needs to be more balanced, in my opinion.
I would say, you know, and I have the list here. I see how many coaches we had on the football staff this past year. That's fairly normal. You know, if you look at other schools our size, you generally see that many coaches on the staffs. Could be a little less, could be a little more. I have no idea how many school districts actually pay all those coaches versus districts that have, you know, boosters maybe paying 4 or 5 of those folks. I just don't know without researching it. One thing to bear in mind, I mean, I think of note is the number of kids that are involved in a program. You know, football, and I know this is not about football, but football does have a lot of kids involved. I'm pretty sure we're over 100 players at this time. And, you know, during the summer, there might be a few that decide that they don't want to continue. That happens in any sport. But, you know, I think there are probably around 100 kids now for the number of coaches we have. And I think the number of coaches we have currently is very similar to what you see here. Just still putting the staff together with our new football coach only having been with us since the start of May.
Chair, can I ask a question real quickly? Just curiosity, and it may not make a bit of difference whatsoever. I'm just curious what surrounding counties pay the dance, the cross country, and the tennis coach, just out of curiosity, so that are we right there in with them, or are we way under, or are we way over
We're over. I've
for those?
compared.
And
compared.
I just, and like I said, that may not make any difference.
Well, I will say, I have it in front of me right now. Yeah, we're way over.
Could I ask you something?
When
And
you
I'm
say-
not saying that's a bad thing.
When you're saying we're way
But-
over, so we're paying these 3 areas way over what most counties or systems, and like I said,
Just
we may want to
at a
go way
glance.
over that, but.
Yeah, at a
but
glance.
I'm just curious.
I have 2 other districts right here in front of me. That's not very much to go by, but that's a little bit. And, yeah,
So
we're-
we're doing pretty good in
we're
that
doing-
sense.
our coaches are paid very well here.
Okay.
And you're referring to those head coaches for the 3 sports we were
For the
talking
3
about?
sports we were talking about, yeah.
Okay.
In every area, because I've looked at this for a few weeks now. And I'll just tell you who I'm comparing, and I can send you the data. It's Franklin County and Bedford. And there's a lot more to look at besides those two, okay?
One thing that Bedford County does too is they pay a lump sum. They don't do it by percentages.
Bedford and Franklin
A
County
lot of
do.
systems do that, Mr. Hanford, yes.
And,
Yeah, a lot of them,
Y-
besides us, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
The
Yeah,
good
it-
thing about a percentage is it doesn't go down in value over the years. So 3 years or 10 years from now, 15% is still 15% with the raises that went up. But if you keep it at a flat amount, then in 15 years, that say $2,000 that you were paying isn't worth what $2,000 was 15 years ago. Does that make sense? So that's the reason why Coffee County tried to stay towards the percentage, is to make the money stay still worth what it was made at the time it was set.
And I would say that's probably why we are ahead of those districts, because they probably pay, and I don't know, 'cause I haven't seen, but they probably pay a lump sum where we pay a percentage.
They
that
do.
keeps increasing.
and I'm happy to share that information
Oh,
with you guys. Like I
Also-
said, I only did it for 2, but I just didn't have time to keep digging.
Also, I think we need to consider, for instance, dance and or cheerleading. You know, dance is something that's fairly new to high schools, at least in this area. And I think that's a growing sport. And I don't know how the board initially set that percentage. I have no earthly idea, or when it was even set. That program is growing. Cheerleaders used to be, what, Holly, when you were 8 or 10 maybe at the most?
Yeah, now I think.
Now I think there's
if I'm
30 on the high school team.
32-ish, maybe more
And I'm not
now.
sure about the middle school, but those groups are growing.
Yeah.
And some of them, what we call the minor sports, golf and tennis and so forth, weren't around several years ago. So I don't know how those percentages were
Golf is
initially set
around
up by
22, I think.
whichever board set them up.
This year.
I have no idea.
You know,
Definitely growing.
you know, what has generally happened, and I think we probably all realize it, is virtually any sport has grown with respect to the amount of time demanded if you want to be competitive.
Yes.
You know, if you want to have a really quality dance team, you know, you're practicing and you're involved for just about the entire year. We could say that of any sport. You know, in the off season, there's travel ball and there's, you know, off season workouts during the summer for baseball and softball right now. It's going on several days a week, and that's common in most any school you might go to. So,
And whatever we do or commit to, we want to do well.
absolutely.
And I'm kind of like Holly. You know, if we're going to have a sports program in the system, we need to try to fund it through the school system, not through booster clubs.
Yeah.
I know a lot of schools have that, but I've heard a lot of bad tales about booster clubs paying coaches and paying them underhand, so to speak, and they've got caught at it. They've had a lot of financial information involved in it. We don't have to worry about that because even our non-faculty coaches are paid through the school system. The booster club does not write those people a check, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
So we've got a good accountability standard there.
I just look back, and it looks like just a little bit of history. The dance team at the high school was added in 2010.
2010,
That's the first time we saw the stipend for that.
and it probably had, what, 5 or 6 dancers?
It was 4.5 at that time,
Okay.
4.5% when it first started.
And how that was derived, I have no idea.
It did in 2013. The board chose to vote to change that.
And that's been a long time.
Maybe I'm overlooking it, but I thought we had a swim team. I don't
We
see it
do.
on here.
We do.
I
I
don't
think
know.
I saw it in here.
It's,
Is it on?
on
And I'm
here?
just totally overlooking it.
It's on the bottom of the very first
It is.
page.
There it is. It's
Yes.
broken apart for me. But I don't see, oh, yes, there it is. Okay.
The swim coach is also the swim coach, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, unless it's changed, the swim coach is also the coach for the middle school program, and there is a supplement for middle school as well.
gets
It's not
middle school.
noted here because middle school supplements are not on here.
Yeah, you have a separate packet for middle school.
Middle schools have your blue lines on them. That's a separate, that's middle schools.
And for the swim coach at the middle school, it's 5%. And it is the same person.
And
So-
there's no dance team at the middle school, gathering.
We have a strength and conditioning supplement going to the middle school. Do we have that for the high school?
Not per se, because I think in the past, one of the football coaches has done that for class, because you can get credit for that, I
Yeah.
think, as a physical education credit, if I'm not mistaken. So that's not, what Mr. Travis does is after school with all the sports. He doesn't, that's not his class. He has a 5-6 period class.
Is that?
Then he does that after school
Ms.
with all the
Matthews?
athletes at
I'm
the
sorry.
middle school.
Sorry.
Okay.
I believe Mr. Kelly actually does it for multiple sports.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
worked in with the multiple different sports that,
I was gonna
that
ask.
that's pulled
yeah.
in. Exactly how they do that with, I was thinking it was part of actually the percentage that was given to each sport, put it towards that strength and conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it's here, it looks like it's a little different, but I
So-
do know it's multiple sports.
Is that can any kid participate in strength and conditioning, or?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It'd be like football during the time that they are in their preseason or whatever, they might be doing strength and conditioning. Then it might be soccer connecting up with Mr. O'Kelly, or baseball connecting up with Mr. O'Kelly. So it's not a strength and conditioning, it's just itself, it's tied to the sport,
Okay.
the individual sport. And that's the reason
Yeah.
why I thought that it was part of each individual sport's percentage, and they were
Yeah.
given a portion of their percentage, but the way it's written here, it doesn't look that way, but Ms. Melson,
It's always been set up just separate, as a separate supplement to support all the different sports at,
So-
middle school.
Okay.
Mr. Parsley needs to
I
add.
can add on some. So, we do have a strength and conditioning coach or teacher, you might say, at the high school. That would be Coach Harmon, who's our new head football coach. And so I believe he'll have, my recollection is that he will have 6 periods. Don't hold me to that. I think he'll have 6 periods of strength and conditioning classes this year. And what we try to do is put various groups of kids in their sports where we're able to. For instance, with Coach Harmon, we talked with him when he was hired about, if you had your druthers, would you want to have all of the football team in the same class period of strength and conditioning? Or would you like for them to be divided up? Would you like for them to have strength and conditioning in the morning so that they could perhaps, rest up a little bit during the day while they're having classes and be ready to go for practice? And I think that's probably what we're going to do this year. That's kind of his philosophy. But I believe we're going to have the football kids, if I'm not mistaken, in a couple of class periods in the morning. Coach McWhorter with softball, he has all of his softball players in one particular period. Volleyball kids are all in one particular period. Now, every now and then, there'll be a student who wants to take a class that is offered only one time a day. And it could be an early post-secondary opportunity of some sort, usually is. And if it happens to be offered during that same class period where the sport has their conditioning, a choice has to be made. And just to be quite honest, I would encourage the kid to take the early post-secondary opportunity. That might put them a little bit behind, but they can still do the strength and conditioning.
Yes.
And of course,
Mr.
you have to
Parsley,
keep,
like at the high school, and I can speak for baseball for just a second, they actually use one of their coaches in their supplement for their strength and conditioning, which is Coach Moss, which is their strength and conditioning, which is after
Yes.
school hours.
Yes.
So I'm assuming the other might be doing the same type of thing.
So what's happening with baseball in particular? So our head baseball coach, he wanted someone in particular to work with his kids with respect to strength and conditioning. And so he said, I want to take X percentage, and I'd have to look and see what it is here. I want to take X percentage and pay this gentleman to do the strength and conditioning with my kids during the class, which our head coach is there for as well. And so that's exactly what we do. Part of the assistant coaching supplement pool is paid out in that case for strength and conditioning, which Coach Pruitt believes is well worth it, and I can't argue otherwise.
You have to keep in mind too that each individual sport may have a different type of strength and conditioning they need to go through. What would be good for a football player may not necessarily be what needs to be done for a softball player or a tennis player. Is that right, Coach?
A question that I think you asked a few minutes ago, you'd ask if students who are maybe not part of a sport could still take,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
answer is yes.
Okay.
We have lots of students that take
Yeah,
strength
that's
and
right.
conditioning.
Yeah. For a
Basically,
PE.
it's part of our health and PE program,
Yeah.
and so students can choose that as an alternate to a traditional PE class.
Is
But-
that an option at the middle school,
That's what I was
though?
gonna say. I think you were asking about
Yeah,
the
about the middle school,
In the
'cause
middle
we've
school,
got
they actually
A
tie it to
percentage,
that.
yeah,
It's a little different. It's not actually done during school hours. It's after school hours. So it's a different setup than what the high school is.
you know, I mean, I guess, like, this is kind of divided out by program, like athletic program, and this kind of makes strength and conditioning look like its own program. And what if you just had a kid that said, I just want to get in shape? I just want to
Based on
be
what,
strong and conditioned, you
based,
know?
based
And
on what
could
Dr.
they-
Anderson, based on what Dr. Anderson tells me about the strength and conditioning, it's an after-school program.
Is that
and-
only available to sports
And I
teams?
think it's only available to the sports team if it's a football during football practice, if it's basketball, or they may let them interchange. I'm not sure. They go out to the big field house out behind the field, if you're aware of that, of course, Miss Holly.
Yeah,
And,
I am.
and
I'm
I'm,
just
based
saying-
on what Mr. Anderson tells me, that is not part of the 5 or 6 period school day. That's an after-school
Right,
program.
I'm sure it is. yeah.
Yes.
I'm just saying, you know, if you had a kid that said, I don't play a sport, but
Right.
I want, you know, that might not be a bad idea to make that available. I don't know. If it's done after school, you'd have to really want to.
Well, that's why that's why Travis gets a supplement, because it's an after-school
Yes.
program per se,
Yeah.
at this point in time.
Yeah,
If-
on
if-
top of the
And
school day.
I'm speculating a little bit here, but I would imagine that those workouts are specialized.
I would say so,
You know,
yes.
for those
For the
sports.
sport.
And, you know, it may change throughout the year for that particular sport based on whether it's in season or out.
Yes.
Ms. Melson, is there a chance that that's how Mr. Harris or the AD at the middle school set it up, so that they took their percentages and actually created that for those sports, so it's done that way? And that's a question. I don't
mean,
know.
I don't, the strength and conditioning specifically, or like, I guess that, I mean, that would have been like a board voted, like, percentage way back when. But I would say that he would have a lot to do with, he would work with those people and have a lot to do with what those percentages look like. Similar to the situation Mr. Parsley is on with his coaches, his ADs and coaches. I think they're set. Is that what you're asking me? Did I answer it? I don't know that I did.
Maybe not. I was thinking they might have gotten X number of percentage, and then actually the AD kind
No,
of,
so that percentage.
because everybody was
set-
using that strength and conditioning at the middle school per sport.
No, that percentage is set specifically for strength and conditioning. Like, that percentage has always been 13% for that particular thing, so. It doesn't fluctuate, so, it's always been 13.
Okay, any other questions? Ms.
Yeah,
Beth?
on this dance supplement, we're talking about the possibility to raise that to 8%. But within that 8%, it doesn't give anything for an assistant. So we would have to do it more than 8% in order to cover an assistant, right?
Well, that would be up to you all to decide whether you want to do that. If the question is, would I recommend that, the answer is yes.
Okay.
I just know what I have seen in recent years with our dance team throughout the year with respect to the amount of effort and time that they put into the program, and I believe they're earning that money and then a whole lot more. Of course, we know that you know, you could say that, you know, none of these supplements, no one is getting wealthy off the supplements
No.
for their coaching. And when you consider the amount of hours that are put into any sport, with respect to the amount you get paid, it just doesn't generally add up. But I would recommend there be an assistant supplement for every sport we have.
Well, I notice we have 4 that, including the color guard, that are at below the 8%, which is the least that we pay any other head coach.
One thing that I want to say about color guard, again, our instructor for color guard's earning her money very well too, but color guard is part of the band. And so I would, and I know the way it's laid out here, but, we have a head band instructor supplement, there's an assistant supplement, and I know color guard has a different name, but it really,
So she's
it's
an
sort of like
assistant.
another band assistant,
Okay.
sort of is.
Okay.
Also, I just want to point out that on these these programs that do not have an assistant, if that head coach is sick or has to be out, or, like, who steps in? Or they need to be out of town. And some of them may have assistants, but they're funded by a booster. I don't know. Some of them may not. I mean, middle school golf, there's no assistant. There's, anywhere on here where you just see one name, you have to wonder if something happens and this coach cannot be at a game or at a match or competition, whatever. They really probably, in my opinion, I'm one of 9. I would love to see everybody have an assistant, if for nothing else, to be able to step in when that head coach can't be there.
To support your remark, several years ago now, probably 5 or 6 years ago, our dance coach, who did not have an assistant, she had a personal issue come up that just absolutely could not be helped. And we had a football game, a home game.
Yeah.
And so our chair coaches just kind of, basically they helped her and took care of it that night.
Yeah.
Not their responsibility, but
Right.
obviously willing to help and glad to help. That's how we handled that.
Well, I'm glad they were willing, but it would be great if we didn't have to
Right.
rely.
Right.
Yes.
We've got the
It wasn't an
same
easy
with
night
our-
for them.
I know it wasn't.
Our swim coach too, so really we've got several that are in that position. Does the swim coach, you feel like, need an assistant?
I hesitate a little bit, and I would definitely not just say no. I don't know, without doing a little research, I just don't recollect whether our swim coach maybe has a volunteer assistant that is getting paid through booster funds or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not certain that she does, but she might.
Okay.
Let me throw this out one more. I think we pretty much talked about, you've got an idea of what we need to be looking at or what y'all need to be looking at in the future. And you can see from this that it could lead into quite a bit of discussion, of course. But this is just something to look at. Let me go back to the dance coach, for instance. Right now, excuse me, the head coach is getting 6.25%. All right, the assistant coach, I'm sorry,
That's cross
I'm
country.
on the wrong page. Dance coach. Okay, we don't have an assistant coach in the dance program right now.
We do have an assistant, but
Yeah,
she's not
she's
getting,
paid through the
She
boosters.
does not get paid.
Okay, I
through
think
the
I
booster.
asked April to figure out if we were to give that assistant dance coach 2.75%, that would be giving that particular individual $1,350, and I don't know what they get paid now. I'm not sure. I have no idea.
I would have to look.
Do you know
and
right
see.
offhand?
It would be, I think we figured it non-faculty and 0, I think is what we figured it at.
How much?
A non-faculty coach at
Yeah.
0, I think that was $1,300 and.
Okay, so
$1.
yeah,
But that's like the lowest we would, that would be the lowest we would pay.
right.
If we hired someone within that had experience, we would give them obviously their experience.
Okay,
So that could fluctuate.
sure.
So all non-faculty coaches, this is a question I had before I came in here. How do you figure a percentage for a non-faculty coach? They're all at 0 with a bachelor, so they're in that top left corner,
That's right.
Yes.
no
They
matter
stay
how long
there.
they've been
No.
coaching.
They get a year in.
Oh, okay, okay,
don't
so
move
they
them
can
along.
build,
Okay, you
We
know.
don't
No.
move them along.
They-
They
okay.
stay at 0.
okay, I did
And
not
they
know
just
that.
get the increase we give to the pay scale each year. So like if we
Okay.
give a 4%,
Yeah.
they get a 4%.
So they never jump out of that top left box.
Not unless
on
they
the-
start working with us, and then we
Gotcha.
give them.
That's an
They stay
interesting
at
thought.
0% throughout the, and if the 0% or the
Yeah,
0 level goes up 4%, then they
It
would
goes
go
up
up
too.
4% based
Yeah.
on their supplement, yes.
but their years of service of coaching,
Doesn't, no,
Or not.
just whatever percent the system gives is what they'd be getting in their
Okay.
supplement. Okay, any other
Interesting.
questions right now? I think you know where we need to start doing some searching. I will say this, there are some other organizations at the high school that are looking for some concern about stipends or supplements or whatever you might want to call them that have extracurricular programs. So I'm sure that's going to be coming up. Mr. Parsley is well aware. He's kind of grinning. He's well aware of what I'm talking about. So it's not necessarily just athletic supplements per se that we need to be looking at. It could be some other programs that have after-school programs and other responsibilities that are not during the school day that could be looking at some possibilities. Some systems, the ones I'm familiar with or talked with early on about it, when I got a question about it, they may pay just a flat rate for a certain position, whatever that might be. So that's something else that probably going to come out of this conversation at some point in
I
time.
think that would be great.
Okay.
I know they,
Anyone else have anything to say? Anyone? Think we've had a good meeting, very productive, opened a lot of eyes.
this is your,
Mr. Hargrove and Mr. Morris and Mr. Holland will get together and come to some kind of a consensus on what Mr. Harlow will recommend to the board, or that, and it'll be on the next board meeting, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
so will this be on the June meeting next week?
Be on the June meeting, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you guys will have to meet for next week,
Correct.
or get on it.
Yeah,
Don't got much time now.
Which shouldn't be a problem, I don't think,
Okay.
I don't know.
Will Mr. Morris be back?
I think he's supposed to be back tomorrow or Friday.
Okay.
He's been at a
meeting's
state
Monday.
transportation meeting all
And
week.
if it can't happen, we also have
We'll have July.
in
July, August, I mean,
August too.
we can back pay him, so if it
Okay.
didn't get settled, we can make it
Yeah,
work.
we're not dead in the water if we don't.
Okay, anything else that committee would like to bring up? All right, thank you very much, and make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Second that.
Ms. Beth, second it, and Mr. Hansard, first it.